So something crazy just happened. Apparently, Binance has been receiving a ton of FUD, mainly for two different things. One is that they're right now leaving the Netherlands. Very sad because obviously, that's that used to be my place, And also, over in France, some very strange things have just happened to Binance. And so in this video, we surely have to cover that. However, apparently over at the SEC, some very strange things are happening too. And also take a look at Gary Gensler yet again. This man doesn't know how to stay away from Twitter, yet I don't think he's ever read the comments, because every single time I take a look at one of his tweets, it's people at the bottom saying, hey, don't trust this man is a liar, etc., etc., or Gary, come talk to us, which obviously is a little reference to them always saying, the SEC, come in and talk to us so we can get things done, but then whenever you knock on that door, nobody's home. In that same field, a little bit more is going on, and just some interesting things will be covered in this video, like, for example, the idea that this BlackRock ETF that we are watching here, apparently it's actually going to be leveraging Coinbase custody, which I did not even notice before, which makes it even more of a massive ordeal. But let's quickly cover all the Binance FUD first, as that's by far the most important news for right now. Having said that, right now, try to press that like button if you can. If you don't want to, no worries, but let's try to get to 1,000 likes. I know that might be a lot, might be impossible, but I really think we can do it. And I would very much appreciate it if you pressed it. That's about it. So let's quickly take a look at all this Binance stuff. And I know I didn't iron it. I'm sorry, but hey, we are good. I think it's okay. So Wu Blockchain said Binance is under investigation by the Paris Public Prosecutor's Office, CoinDesk reported. Allegations against Binance from French prosecutors, quote, relates on the one hand to acts of illegal exercise, end quote, and, quote, acts of aggravated money laundering, end quote. Previously, Paris and Dubai were once designated as dual headquarters by Binance. And to clarify, this is Binance coming in France, on-site visits by regulators and inspectors are part of regulatory obligations to which all financial institutions must adhere. I'm not sure if I read everything right there perfectly, but all right. We had an on-site visit last week by the relevant authorities. Binance, as always, was fully collaborative, and we've met our obligations accordingly. We continue to work closely with regulators and law enforcement agencies on all ongoing compliance requirements to uphold high standards. Binance, this is like the most PR thing ever, but understand it's not a small business. Binance invests considerable time and resources into cooperating with law enforcement globally, and we abide by all laws in France just as we do in every other market we operate. We will not comment on the specifics of law enforcement or regulatory investigations, except to say that information about the users is held securely and only provided to government officials upon receipt of documented appropriate justifications. To which I once more can state, if this is true, which I do believe to be the case, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what's going on over in France. I'm not sure exactly why they're against all of this, and I'm not sure why this needs clarification. Them being under investigation is also quite arbitrary in the sense of, is this a thing that happens to every single company? Is this something we should be afraid of? Because it's the prosecutor's office, that makes it a little bit scary. But on the opposite side, saying illegal exercise, what exactly does that mean? Does that mean something deeper like, oh, it has Chinese connections, they're doing some crazy investment scheme, blah, 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 like FTX level? Or does that mean, oh, they're trading cryptocurrencies, which we think is illegal, so they're doing something illegal? And the same thing for acts of aggravated money laundering is that, once more, okay, we don't have the proper framework in place to look at all this, money being transferred around. Or is this really like a matter of, no, there's actually a couple of big companies that Binance knows about that they're, working together with to funnel money? Or is it like, oh, perhaps a company out there who just properly registered is funneling money? What exactly is the situation there? And like we said a little bit earlier, Binance is leaving the Dutch market, as we have been unable to register as a VASP with the Dutch regulator. Some people come in to state, well, they can, but they just don't want to because they could basically not operate the way they'd want because apparently, the Netherlands wants to investigate them deeper, but they're not allowing that. We continue to be committed to working collaboratively with regulators around the world and are additionally focused on getting our business ready to be fully MiCA compliant. Dutch users have received an email on how this impacts them and any steps they will need to take. So a lot of people were already texting me, is this real? Yes, it is. If you're looking for a different crypto exchange to use, if you're in the Netherlands right now, I've got a couple links down below. The one I personally always use is called Bybit. I'll leave a link down below. And if you don't like that one, I'll also be leaving a link to BitGet. There's just 3 exchanges I use for the most part, 2 of which have links down below. Let me actually rephrase that. There are 4, one of which is Binance. So that one is kind of off the record for some people. We've got Bybit, which I use all the time, BitGet, and then OKX. I'll try to leave links for all those down below. But yeah, obviously, that is not news that we are very happy to hear. Then again, will this impact the market very negatively? No, it's just not juicy for people in the Netherlands. And this is kind of like a precursor to what might happen next, where all these countries in Europe potentially might all start to kind of clamp down on Binance. And that could be a thing. Like, for example, now in the US, the SEC is going after them. In Netherlands, they're going after them. In France, apparently they're going after them. Is that going to be everywhere now all of a sudden? And is that, again, all having to do with the big sweep that we've been talking about? I mean, right now as it stands, right, we've said that potentially this is where the banks all collide, and this is where all the money is going to be gathered. What I mean with that is that they've been basically living up to this moment where right now BlackRock is filing for a Bitcoin ETF. And from this point forward, all these major banks, which once more have also been accumulating Bitcoin right now. We saw JP Morgan, we saw a couple of others. We covered it yesterday in a video that all of a sudden, Fidelity, they all of a sudden are, no, sorry, I'm not sure if JP Morgan, I think it was Bank of America and Fidelity and another one. But don't quote me on that, which exact banks. We just know the banks are massively buying. Together with the fact that this just came out, I mean, it seems kind of coincidental that what I've been explaining to you guys for a while, the fact that these banks, they don't have any benefit in crypto going up, and actually they'd have a bigger loss. So they'd rather push the regulators to try to push it down. And that, of course, in the world of politics is something you can do for sure with some extra pressure, some extra power. If you think about it, right? Let's say Gary Gensler's boss, so to speak. Who is that? That's always difficult to say. But let's just say the actors in which he works for, which again is difficult to say who exactly, but there probably are some people that are still above him that still decide what really goes around. Potentially they just said, hey, you know, keep crypto in a vague space for right now until we get all these things in, like these banks buying massive amounts of crypto, like BlackRock getting their ETF in place. And, you know, maybe they even said deny all these previous ETFs, deny everything until we get ready to do this. This is one of the many articles that states, for example, that 99% of crypto assets will go broke, according to Mark Cuban. Like, one thing you have to understand is right now we are extremely bullish on cryptocurrencies, but not in every one of them. And the same thing applies for crypto exchanges. Not every single one of them is eventually going to be making it. And the thing, again, is that there might be a lot of trouble in paradise in the midst. Here was one thing that Mr. Clayton said. If someone bought 1,000 tickets for $10 and told their families they will be able to resell those tickets for $100, then it's a security. But if you just buy the ticket 10 years later, it's a ticket. Former SEC Chairman Jay Clayton, Bloomberg 2023. You don't have to be a securities lawyer or securities law Harvard devotee and head of the SEC to realize how dumb this is. And John Deaton says, it's scary to think that statement is coming from a former SEC chairman because this is, you know, interesting. I'm not sure exactly what he was smoking to get to this or what exactly he tried to get with this. It's a real quote, by the way. Yeah, it's not actually fake. It is really real. So somebody asked, so if I resell a ticket with the hopes of $10 profit, I'm suddenly co-owner of a mega company and I'm going to be fined by the SEC because you had hopes for making a little bit of money, for example. Somebody asks, if you buy something with the intent of reselling it for some profit, is it a security? That's 100% of all commerce in the world. So basically the term investment contract has now become quite arbitrary, basically. Everything following his definition, almost every purchase is now a security, is it not? I mean, yeah, really, almost. Yeah, I think that literally tries to define almost anything out there, which is peculiar they decided to do that, which once more comes at an interesting point where Gary Gensler right now is saying, never stop learning. And I find that funny on 2 different fronts. He says, I encourage all investors, including older ones, to take advantage of our educational resources. Well, so let's say I want to know about these crypto coins, right? Which exactly one of them are securities? And now, especially that they've gone after Coinbase and Binance, if I want to look up which exchanges are completely solid, would they go and point me to Prometheus or Prometheum, whatever? Where would they point me? What exactly is fine? Would they have said FTX a year ago if you asked them? Because it seemed that one was fine until quite recently. What exactly would they state could be a proper place for me to buy some Bitcoin? Where exactly could I go if I asked the SEC? And once more, which exact cryptos could I buy? Right now, I've been looking on Twitter and people are saying that potentially following, I believe, SEC people, Ethereum, I think it was JP Morgan that actually said this, the company. that Ethereum might actually go ahead and fall in a different class. JP Morgan is biased, so I'm not going to take them too serious, but it's a good question of where exactly does what crypto lie and what exactly makes it that way. And so where exactly do we learn all those things? Because if we take it from, ex-SEC members, for example, like our Mr. Clayton over here, well, this wouldn't really make anybody any wiser, right? Something I'll add in there just real quick, just for fun, is Francis Suarez said, "I guarantee you that I'm the first candidate that actually gets paid in Bitcoin." He's the Miami mayor and U.S. presidential candidate that, quote, "I believe that our country needs to lean into this multi-generational disruptive moment." And that's actually where two things kind of collide, which is one, keep learning, which the SEC stands for. But then the moment you actually try to learn something, there's really no education available. But then on the opposite side, there are people, and this will always stick around, that actually have this passion to actually emancipate, to actually grow and to make your country not be last. We covered earlier today that all the money is flowing to freaking Hong Kong, etc., because they're just not willing to adopt. And I personally believe that this is how big empires crumble. We've stated before that the world reserve currency stays around for about 100 years. This could literally be the moment that the US crashes itself, even though it might still take, 5 years or whatever. This might literally be the point where the US crashes itself by its strange policies under its own thumb because of their size, potentially because of the size of their market. They might have gotten too cocky and they crumble under their own weight because of how difficult they wanted to make things with all this crypto policy, because of all their, current position, I guess, because they're so high up the chain. They think, you know what? We don't need crypto. Let's keep it away. But it's going to, in my opinion, get so huge that leaning away from this and pushing this to other countries like Hong Kong might actually really be the biggest mistake they've made for the US dollar, for the US economy, for everything. Yet, once more, there are people that can save it. And it's not as if everybody sees it the same way. It's just crazy enough. The most important regulator that seems to want to wreck everything, and I just don't understand why. Like I was saying, though, JP Morgan says Ethereum could be put into other category by the US Congress, which, maybe that could save things or wreck things. It kind of depends on exactly how they go about this. It depends on what they exactly think it is. US lawmakers could put Ether into a new category to avoid classifying it as a security, but to protect investors, according to JP Morgan strategists. The comments came after the release of the Hinman documents earlier this week as part of an ongoing enforcement against Ripple Labs, which once more shows, and I'll cover this later in a video more in depth, but this once more shows just how many eyeballs are on the SEC right now after the most recent, mistakes of going after Binance, after going after Coinbase. Right now, they've opened themselves up for way more investigations by all these different parties, and JP Morgan is basically saying the US could simply just classify it as something completely different. They could basically either say it's the same category as Bitcoin or put it into something new with less burdensome regulations than securities, but still, something new, something quote unquote other, which is interesting. And I keep thinking about it. I just think they need to make something new for cryptocurrencies because potentially it's just not definable correctly by a commodity. And perhaps we just have to go with the times where the regulations just meet exactly what people need. But then again, there's an issue of who exactly decides that, how exactly does that get done. So potentially, it all once more lies on the Ripple lawsuit and what exactly gets decided with what XRP is and what an investment contract defines, et cetera, et cetera. But all I can say is we shall see. For right now, make sure you put that notification bell on. If you don't have to do it, your mistake. I'm so tired, guys. Some crazy things are happening in the background. I'm working hard. And I've been seeing some cool stuff too. I'm actually so excited to show you a lot of the cool things I've been seeing here in Malaysia. I must say it's extremely beautiful. I did not imagine, I guess I couldn't have imagined for it to be this freaking nice. Got some cool videos I'll show you soon as well. But make sure you put the notification bell on for all the most important crypto news updates. And that's about it. See you later in another video.